Thank you, Speaker, and endorsing the comments made by the Manager or Leader of the House. It's lovely to have you back in the chair, and on behalf of the Nationals, we do send our deepest condolences to you and your family. And I will try to keep the raucous Nationals members under control this week, particularly the member for Shepparton, who sometimes does get out of control, I know, but am looking forward to some very important, or the member for Euroa, perhaps, who also gets out of control, and the moon is waning, so who knows what could happen, Speaker. I am looking forward to some contributions from real life and lived experience from this side of the House this week. But as the Manager of Opposition Business stated, we will be opposing the government business program. And, you know, this Parliament, this House is not just a rubber stamp Parliament. We should have the opportunity, and it's a reasonable request, to enter consideration in detail and scrutinise bills at length rather than just ram them through and with a government that refuses deeper scrutiny. On that basis, we certainly oppose the government business program because it is a reasonable request to go into consideration in detail. In fact, this past week, Speaker, I had the honour and privilege to speak to some Year 11 classes, both at Mildura Senior College and St Joseph's College in Mildura. And the Year 11 classes at the Senior College were asking about the upcoming government business program and bills that were on the agenda. And they asked how these bills might make their lives easier and how they may affect cost of living. Well, the lived experience that I referred to, particularly from the member for Narrabeen about the domestic building amendments, will in fact make building houses potentially more expensive or make building houses much more difficult, particularly for builders, tradies, contractors and subcontractors in the region. So my answer to that was, well, the bills potentially on the program this week probably wouldn't help cost of living in their households too much. What the Manager of Opposition Business had touched on is that there are so many important things that Victorians really need right now, and one of those is care of our children, which should always be our first priority. It is why I am in this place, and that is to ensure that my children have a happy and safe future in Victoria. It is why I know many of us with the Nationals sit in this place, to make sure that our children have a happy, safe future in this state and can thrive. But at the moment, with working with children checks needing greater scrutiny and further strengthening, that is one thing that should be, and the member for Kew, of course, last week presented a solution that was voted down, and that to me is something that should concern all Victorians when children are not of the highest priority. Again, we have the further bail amendments on the agenda this week. This is the big bad bail bill that the government professes will make them the toughest in Australia. In fact, they won't make them the toughest in Australia. And like I've said before in this place, Speaker, we want the best bail laws in the country. They don't necessarily have to be the toughest, whatever the definition of toughest is. We just want the best to ensure community safety. So when we talk about the top priorities for every Victorian, you would think that our children in early education or education should be top of the list, and community safety should be also very close to the top of the list. That is the fundamental job of this government, and to not allow proper scrutiny from those that were elected to hold this government to account is the very reason, and I know we get eye rolls and moans and groans from the government when we oppose the government business program, but that is why we are in this House to do a job, and that is to hold the government to account, and we're currently unable to do that.